Have you ever used that Uber Eats app? If not, download the app on your phone and I'll give you $7 off your first order. That's right, $7. All you have to do is enter the code EATS-BRIANT24790UE. You can order from McDonald's, Popeyes, or some of your favorite local restaurants and they'll deliver it right to your door. Remember, download the app, Uber Eats, enter the code EATS-BRIANT24790UE and get $7 off your first order.
Shootin The Shiznit is sponsored by spunklube.com. Spunklube is an award-winning personal lubricant that's fun. Spunklube is available in 4 varieties: hybrid, pure silicone, natural, and pink. Place your order today at spunklube.com and tell them Shootin The Shiznit sent you.
Are you in the Las Vegas area? Join us for the 15th Annual Erotica Awards. That's right. Spunk Lube's been nominated Best Lube. Join us. Presented by ASN Lifestyle Magazine, January the 22nd. Be there!
Anyone can suffer from recurrent or punctual erectile dysfunction due to stress, fatigue, or medical conditions. Stop feeling bad about it. Have better sex with proven solutions. Blue Chew can now offer you the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis at a fraction of the price, discreetly delivered to your door. Just pick the package that matches your needs and make sure you never get caught off guard at the moment you least want it. Blue Chew will help you gain your confidence back in the most convenient way. No waiting rooms, no appointments required, no embarrassing face-to-face meeting with your doctor. Your online prescription will be approved within 24 hours. You're just minutes away from a heightened sex life. Your performance will be as great as your dreams.
Use promo code STS. Get your first month free. All you have to do is pay postage and handling. Now on with the show. Hey, before we get into the show, I just want you to know we want you. Right, subscribe to Patreon for only $1, guys. In 2019, we posted every episode uncut before the release. And over 30 B-side shows exclusively, that's right, exclusively for Patreon. It's only $1, guys, and that's patreon.com/Shootin The Shiznit without a G. Now we're going to hear from American Hostile Championship Wrestling and then on with the show. American Hostile Championship Wrestling presents Hammering Hearts. That's right, February the 8th. 7:30 p.m. Doors open at 6:30 in New Madrid, Missouri. It's at the Eagles Club on 410 U.S. Highway 61. Golden Road tickets are $12. Silver, $11. Bronze, $10. General admission, $8. That's right, Hammering Hearts. You'll see Rude, Jason Vaughn, Gavin Tice, Chris Hayes, Ethan Steele, Austin Bolo, The Family, Missouri Bad Boys, Jack Parker, Derek the King, making their AHCW debut. It's the Posse. That's right, Chris and Simon will be there. All titles will be defended. Be there! New Madrid, Missouri, February the 8th, 7:30 p.m. at the Eagles Club, Hammer and Heights, American Hostile Championship Wrestling. Call Mark for tickets at 636-232-3313. live from STS Studios in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I have on the line JoJo Feeney. JoJo, how's it going?
Everything is going very well. It's all happening.
It is. I cannot believe this, but the last episode you were on was episode 96 in May of 2018. It's just crazy that me and you both, we talked to each other, in Facebook Messenger, but it's been over a year. So it's just crazy because you hit like 3 or 4 episodes all of a sudden, and then you got busy, I got busy, and I just have my own series of stuff. I throw a bunch of shows up against the wall, and some of them hit, and some of them didn't. So I guess that's what we both did, right?
For sure. And it's funny because now, like, obviously I've been on with Konnan for a while, and I started with Raven in the middle of 2019, but I really don't. Like, whenever I want to talk wrestling, I immediately think about hitting up you or Lance to come on and do a wrestling episode or talk about whatever's coming up. And it's just that our schedules haven't aligned that much. But I do always have you guys in mind when I get that wrestling itch. You're the two guys I want to talk to. Sure.
Well, good God, me and Lance gave you the wrestling itch. Actually, it was not episode 96 was me, you, and Lance. And if you are listening to this in iTunes, there'll be a link for all the JoJo Feeney episodes. You were actually on episode 3, so when we got started back, so way back when. There's a lot of shit going on with you. That's the best way to put it. You're still with Konnan, and so how long has that been?
Almost 3 years, and that is like I think that's a producer / co-host record for Konnan. He doesn't play well with others when it comes to co-hosts. I don't think. Obviously, he had the short run with Kevin Gill, and then prior to that he had some problems with this guy MSL on MLW. So I was like the third goofy white boy that jumped on the show, and somehow I've managed to last. So we actually get along really well.
Awesome. That's still listen to the show every once in a while. I don't. Here's the weird thing. I hate to admit this, but I don't listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts anymore. It's when you get into it and you're doing it on a regular basis, it's kind of hard to listen to other people because you don't want, I don't really want my opinions being influenced by what someone else says. I spent the Christmas going over a bunch of Cornette stuff that I hadn't heard, and kind of agreed with a lot of stuff he said, but I try not to, he said this, she said this kind of thing. But you guys are still going strong over there. And go ahead and give, I want you to give the Patreon a big plug for Konnan and how to listen. You can listen to the Konnan show on all kinds of podcast players, but give them the Patreon because it's always fun.
Yeah, well, Keeping It 100 with Konnan went back to MLW Radio the middle of 2019, but it's still available pretty much everywhere you could think of, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all that stuff. But and on Audio Boom now is the main platform. But the Patreon is at patreon.com/Konnan. And what you would get on there is any of the audio that didn't make the show. I'm actually putting up commercial and music-free episodes now a day or two before release, which people seem to like. And there's video content. There's a lot of interaction, too. If you're on a certain tier, one of the higher tiers, we do round tables, we do call-ins, we do match watch-alongs with Konnan and Disco if you want to pick a match and stuff like that. And as I've explained on Keeping It 100, the great thing about a Patreon is if you sign up for Patreon now, you wouldn't just be good for whatever the content in January is. You would have all the content that they've ever had on their Patreon, which is almost 3 or 4 years of Patreon audio, video, pictures, everything. So, I mean, it's a great deal. It's a great way to support shows that you listen to the free versions and you like them a lot. Hey, help the guys out, jump on their Patreons. I know you guys run a Patreon as well.
We do. We don't have a lot of members, but we try to do at least 2 to 3 shows. We did over 30 last year for the Patreon members, and it gives you a little. It's actually a lot easier to do than sticking the commercials in. So if we could get 100 Patreon members like some of my friends have or more, it'd be fun just to do a Patreon episode. It'd be a little bit. Just let the sponsors do one episode a month or something like that. So I do like being able to just do, and me and you know the process of putting these out, and it's so much easier just to put an unedited version in a feed than putting commercials every X amount of minutes.
For sure. I mean, and I had no patience for a Patreon. I've like stopped and started 3 or 4 times where at first I was putting up, all right, I'll put up unedited versions of my interviews, and that didn't work. And then I was doing some writing, and I was like, well, maybe I'll put up the stuff that I'm writing. That didn't work. Then I was doing match watch alongs for the Patreon. That didn't work. Then I just haven't. I've hit in some different areas. I've been really lucky with some stuff, but Patreon just isn't one of them. So I've kind of just bailed on it.
Yeah, I mean, we did it. I had some advice from somebody. I said, dude, I only got like 5-6 members, and he was just like, just keep doing it. So the guy that told me that, Who's Right Podcast, has over 100 people now, so just keep doing it, and that's what we're going to do. So, you did something and I was scheduled to go on a show with you, and we were going to talk about the Joker, and we never got together. By the way, I did not like the movie, but I liked the performance of Joaquin Phoenix. Other than that, there's my review there.
Yeah. I just I watched like a crappy bootleg at first. Like I still have to watch like a good HD version, and I haven't because my initial impression of it was that I didn't really like it. And I guess I'm kind of like you, where Joaquin Phoenix was great. I thought it could be so much better, and I think the measuring stick of Heath Ledger, it's just not going to be touched. The guy, exceeded Jack Nicholson even.
Right.
Iconic.
I thought he did a fantastic job. I know we're not talking about wrestling guys, but I thought he did a fantastic job. If he wins the Oscar, it won't hurt my feelings.
Right.
But the movie was artsy-fartsy, kind of, and it just, I'm a huge Joker fan. For years, I've been Batman Joker kind of thing. So, yeah, it was totally different there. All right, let's talk about you. Talking about Creative Control Daily. Now, dude, let me go back first. Now, at one point, me and you, I talked to you, you was producing Tom Pritchard's show, you was producing Eric Bischoff, you was producing some other. Are you still producing those shows?
Yeah, anything in Conrad's lineup other than Tony Schiavone's show, which I believe he produces himself. So I produce The Orange Show, I produce Bruce Pritchard, I produce Bischoff, and Jim Ross. I think, 4. So there you go. So actually I was working on a project for Conrad just before we got on, just something to do with a sponsor or whatever. But it's funny because we were talking about listening to wrestling podcasts, and before I started working with Conrad and helping with the shows or whatever, I was a big fan of their stuff, and I was down at the first live show they did, Conrad and Bruce, down in Orlando for WrestleMania that year, and been to some of their live shows since and seen Conrad with Eric and whatnot. But to be honest, other than going in and fixing up and cleaning up what needs to be cleaned up, I don't really listen to the shows that much anymore because it turned into like almost with all the different gigs I have, it's pretty much a full-time job. So
Right. That's a good thing, though.
It's a good thing, but the last thing I'm going to do when I have free time now is go listen to a podcast because what I do, it's like, it kind of, I don't know. It's like I said, I'm lucky in a lot of ways, so I shouldn't complain, but that's just one of the things I've noticed. Like, damn, I used to be hyped for the new something to wrestle with every Friday, and now it's like, well, if I'm in the car, I'll put one of them on or something, but I'm nowhere near as hardcore as I was because I'm the guy that's working on them.
Right. And we talked about this in Cool Kids Wrestling MMA group, MMA Talk group on Facebook. You can join, guys. If we don't like you, we'll eventually kick you out. But we talked about Conrad, and Lance was of the belief maybe his podcasts were not as over as they used to be. And we actually talked about this on Patreon episode. Do you think, Conrad actually said this on one of his episodes, he felt like the wrestling podcast boom was gone. What is your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think the first StarCast was like the apex, if I'm even using the word right. It was like we got to the top of the summit, and now we're all coming down the mountain. Like everyone was there. Everyone was literally, name someone that wasn't at the first StarCast, Everyone was doing live shows. It was like the biggest thing. And then as the StarCast went after that, they got smaller and smaller. And then the one in Baltimore, from what I understand, which I didn't attend, was in Jimmy's Seafood and maybe one other location. And the list of panels and guests was way smaller than what you guys were lucky enough to see in Chicago. You know, of course, I missed most of it. I missed all the cool stuff.
Right,
I got
right.
which really sucked. I like looking at the panels and even the cool things like the belt room and stuff that I really would have enjoyed. And, you know, I was in Vegas for Expo Lucha, which was fine. But I think what Conrad kind of means is like, yeah, everything built up to that first Starrcast. And once it was over, things kind of trickled down. But I know just from my experience that, you know, Conrad shows are still the top in the game next to like Jericho, and maybe it's like Jericho, Austin, and then Conrad's group of shows. Just from knowing numbers and things like that, like they haven't suffered at all. You might not see as much public commentary about them as there was in the beginning, because those guys, him and Bruce in the beginning, did have a pretty unique show. It was the first time that someone that close to Vince had discussed some of these things, so it was unique, you know.
Right.
And I think that's what made it so popular, and Bruce not being afraid to, you know, to out whoever or talk trash about whoever or explain things that we had all never heard about. Now that he's back working there, maybe people don't think that he's going to be as forthright. I haven't really noticed a difference, and I know that the numbers, you know, are around the same. So those guys are still having good success, and being the guy that edits the shows and helps, you know, put the ads into things like that, they're still getting sponsors every week. So that's what it's, you know, that's what it's all about. You got to get that sponsor money.
Yeah, and I mean, people that aren't into podcasts and wonder why, you know, I may air 6 commercials or 6 or 7 commercials. I have a place for 9, and that's what it's about. If you and there's tons of podcasts, you know this, that don't make a dime on their podcast, and I have no hard feelings toward them. But when I went to this, I gave it a radio. Kind of the radio model where you get sponsors, you do whatever you want to do, and that kind of tells you, because your sponsors are able to look at all your numbers, and that's how they decide, well, you know, am I going to participate with this person? And we've had this conversation. I had a sponsor with you, and we didn't get any, what are they, it's not called tap throughs, what's it called? It's called
Conversions.
Yeah, there we go, conversions. And I had a dildo company that had so many conversions that they decided they couldn't advertise with me because we were selling too many dildos. But with the that's just crazy. It's Shootin The Shiznit sells dildos.
Yes.
But then when it came to, you know, Teague Hanley, was that it? Yeah, Teague Hanley. I couldn't get any conversions. And then our other sponsors have been totally happy with what they got off of what they do, the amount of money and everything. So that's fun to do. And I know I'm talking about shit people don't want to hear probably, but me and you podcasted, so that's. But I'm happy for Conrad. Conrad, he came on my show when we first got started. Super nice guy, and I hope they continue. I don't listen to him as much because a lot of the, you know, like Eric and Bruce always talk about Meltzer this, Meltzer that. And I was just like, I get kind of sick of that part of it. But I listen to clips. So and Arn Anderson's really interesting. So, all right, guys, let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back talking some more with JoJo. And we're going to talk about Creative Control Daily. Man, you're crazy for doing that. Have you ever used that Uber Eats app? If not, download the app on your phone and I'll give you $7 off your first order. That's right, $7. All you have to do is enter the code EATS-BRIANT24790UE. You can order from McDonald's, Popeyes, or some of your favorite local restaurants, and they'll deliver it right to your door. Remember, download the app, Uber Eats, enter the code EATS-BRIANT24790UE, and get $7 off your first order.
Shootin The Shiznit is sponsored by SpunKlube.com. SpunKlube is an award-winning personal lubricant that's fun. SpunKlube is available in 4 varieties: hybrid, pure silicone, natural, and pink. Place your order today at SpunKlube.com and tell them Shootin The Shiznit sent you.
Are you in the Las Vegas area? Join us for the 15th annual Erotica awards. That's right. Spunk Lube's been nominated Best Lube. Join us. Presented by ASN Lifestyle Magazine, January the 22nd. Be there!
This is your bedroom. This is your bedroom with Blue Chew. Blue Chew uses the same active ingredients as in Viagra or Cialis, but now comes in chewable form. Chewable means better, cheaper, and works faster than pills.
I've tried Cialis, I've tried Viagra. Blue Chew works the best. It's a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew has definitely gotten the job done.
No in-person doctor visit, no waiting in line, no more awkwardness.
Blue Chew allowed me to have more sexual freedom because it kicked in and worked faster.
Ordering Blue Chew is an absolute no-brainer for any man.
Blue Chew makes my girlfriend, want to put up with me in bed.
I felt like I did when I didn't have ED.
Order online to get your first month free.
I want my girlfriend to want me, and with Blue Chew, she really does. Blue Chew is the future of manhood.
That's BLUE chew.com. Promo STS, and you get to try it for free.
Wow.
I hear you.
Wow.
All right, we're back. I want to thank BlueChew.com, Spunk Lube, American Hostile Championship Wrestling, and also our guys over there at Uber Eats. JoJo, talk to me. Here's a Creative Control Daily. Before we get there, I think I've mentioned it 3 times, but there is some characters, guys that you do podcasts with now. I heard their names when I was listening to Konnan every week. One is Hughezy. Tell us about Hughezy. He's been pretty damn successful, right?
Yeah, it's been a quick... He kind of knew before I was working with him how to get his name out there. He was just had a knack for it. And then I did his show one morning. He talked me into it, and I had heard of him. And a couple months later, he was on the Creative Control Network, which is funny because I don't think we've ever talked about that. I don't think I've been on the show since it started. But to give you a short version of that, it was just basically what we did when we worked together, and I called you and I said, listen, I have a spot with this sponsor for this month. Would you be interested in doing 2 ads?
Right.
That's really all Creative Control Network is. I just figured I know how to edit, I know how to upload, I know how to level, I know how to promote the shows now, and I know how to find sponsors. What if I did this for other shows that didn't know how or didn't have time or would rather hand that side of the work off to somebody? So I started with Creative Control Network, and I started with the guys that do honorable mention, Shane Hagedorn and Jeff.
Right, yeah.
A Ring of Honor retrospective. They go through the years, and they do for Ring of Honor what, say, Bruce and Conrad do for WWE, right? So it has its place. And Hughezy was one of those early. Actually, the second show that came on with me was Road Warrior Animal, and I was like, oh, this could work. Wow, again, I've been very lucky. So. And then down the line, Hughezy came on, and it gave the network something different because he's a guy from Ireland. It's a comedy-based show. He interviews a lot of comedians and screenwriters and musicians. And, of course, he's had wrestlers on. Everything that we all do kind of spun out from wrestling no matter what. Anyone I have on my network is a wrestling fan or has had wrestlers on or whatever. But, yeah. And then Hughezy, it was his idea to start running the Keeping It 100 YouTube. He's like, do you think they'd be cool with that? And I said, well, let me check, and everybody was cool with it. So now every week he puts up clips from the show on the YouTube, which in its own way has become a success because it's got over 11,000, almost 12,000 subscribers. Wow. And it makes a lot of noise. I'll actually just be scrolling Twitter, and I'll see a story on WrestleZone or something, and I'll be like, wait a minute. And I'll click on it, and I'll realize it came from our YouTube, Yeah, so that's
I love the way those wrestling sites. As soon as Observer comes out on Thursday night, all of a sudden there's all kinds of scoops going on. So,
big time. But yeah, he was. So he started running that, and he does his thing on Creative Control Network, and we have 10 or so shows now. I can't even keep track, but we've had some success. Excuse me. Luckily, we were able to get Shane Helms on. And then we have some lesser-known guys, but then we have Pat McNeil and Jim Valley that do way-back playback. They're both well-known in the wrestling circle. You know, Pat did a lot of stuff with The Torch. Jim Valley's doing a lot of stuff with The Observer now. And we have some sports shows, some other comedy shows. But with Creative Control Daily, it's almost what we were talking about, because the platform that we started working with, Spreaker, has a thing where you can insert ad points. So kind of like when you cut to a break there, I'll do the same thing. I'll cut to a break, put in my little ad point, and a couple of ads will play, pre-recorded ones. It's not sponsors that I brought in, but just whatever commercials.
Right.
You don't get rich off them, but it's a little bit more money into the company coffers there. So I was like, geez, if I cut my show, instead of putting out an hour and a half show, if I do 30 to 40 minutes every day, and I put these ad points in, let me see what kind of money I can make. Maybe this could be a good thing. And I was looking for a way to transition out of talking wrestling, because in the past couple of years, my fandom really took a dive. Ever since StarCast, actually, and even a little bit before that, I was kind of losing interest. Since I was down WrestleMania, lost some interest. StarCast lost some interest. To this point today, where I don't really watch much, just pay-per-views, really. So Creative Control Daily was a way for me, to switch the format, where now I'm interviewing comedians and writers and whoever. I just interviewed Bumblefoot, who was a former guitar player for Guns N' Roses, and then this week I interviewed Mike Rainey, who's a comedian that's been on Comedy Central, things like that. But I just wanted to change what I was doing and at the same time try a new format to see if that would attract more sponsors. So that's where Creative Control Daily came from. But don't let the name fool you, because I found myself maybe doing 3 episodes a week, but that's all right. It's still Creative Control Daily, whatever.
There you go. That's I was like, he's doing it every day. We did 3 episodes when AEW first started out. We did the special. I went ahead and called my show Dynamite instead of Dynamite because I love the way Jimmy Walker said it. So we did that for like 10 or 12 weeks, and then it was a limited series. I knew what I was doing, but by the end of the time, I was like 3 days a week. I need to work. If I could make enough money, I'll work 3 days a week on a shoot job, and then we'll do this for 3 days a week. But that's not enough money yet. I want to talk about somebody else that joined with your network, and I didn't get to pull a story about it, but I used to follow a lot of stuff that Vince Russo done, and I know a lot of people listening to this are not fans of Vince. Vince has never did anything bad. He has not accepted my invitation to interview him, but I've always enjoyed some of the stuff he does, and I'm a huge fan of the way he actually makes money and stuff, and the way he works everybody, and I've seen people send him. I've seen a Twitch one night where somebody had sent him a record album or something.
Yeah, he's got everything cornered. They have their Twitch thing going on. They have a Patreon. They have through the Realm Network where everyone subscribes for whatever it is.
Right.
I couldn't even, if I did the math, I think everyone would be very surprised. But I would say for sure that he does well enough. And he does well enough to also pay his guys, and he's got Disco on there and Stevie Richards and Justin Credible's on there, and Shane Douglas, I think he might not be there anymore. But so those guys all together have their own really good thing going on, and they figured out how to really maximize the subscription models, which, as I said before, I just never had much luck with Patreon. Konnan's does fine, but that's the only one that I've ever worked with that does well. So those guys really, really maximize the subscription model, and I'm overdoing the other side of thing where I'm hunting for sponsors all the time, which is fun. I've actually found that I really dig it, and it's cool to get for a company to be like, all right, boom, let's sign this, we're in, and then I get to tell my guys too, I got you another sponsor. It's something
right, yeah.
I'm going to enjoy almost more so than the recording or editing or any of that. It's just weird how things have transitioned for me.
Yeah, I like it too. It's the hustle that I like. All right, talk about Mike. Did he Durband? He actually left Vince and everything. What happened there? I seen a little bit of it, but he was like big time with Vince, and then Mike cracks me up wearing the shirt with his picture on it. I need to get a shirt with my picture on it. There you go. But yeah, how did Mike end up with you instead of with Vince?
It's funny because they always bust my chops on keeping it 100 about my pro wrestling tee store, and as you know, Getting there, I went a little nuts with the T-shirts, and then I again, sort of like Patreon, I figured pro wrestling tees. I put up some shirts. I'm going to be a millionaire, and that's not how it turned out, of course. So I learned that I'll make my few sales a month and just be happy with that. So I hit the brakes on that a little bit. I actually put up the new Mark World Order shirts on there, which are actually doing very well, thanks to the Konnan show, I think, of course. But
right.
Mike's T-shirt store is absolutely out of control. Like, I think there's like 40 shirts on there. He's out of his mind. But we just became friendly, and actually he was in the crowd at StarCast for the Keeping It 100 panel, and I didn't know it. We didn't know each other yet. And he filmed some stuff there and then shared it with me to use on the Patreon, and we just became friendly. And he started doing a show on Russo's brand. But I think that's a matter of, you know, in the beginning I tried to get him sponsors too, and he wasn't even on my network, like you're not. But if I have a slot, of course you'll be one of the guys that I call.
Right, right. I mean, and that's the cool thing. I mean, if I felt like I was had something for you, I'd do the same thing too, because that's just, I mean, that's just the way we are, because we know we're struggling. You want to make a little money, why not, you know, stretch it a little bit.
Oh yeah, exactly. But well, he was behind the paywall on the brand, on the Realm Network, so he couldn't have sponsors, and I was kind of like, okay, well, I mean, if you're just doing the show for fun, who cares, you know? But I think he decided eventually, like, let me just try to make a go of this, because he's a really good interviewer and editor and everything. Like, he doesn't just hit record and then put it out like I used to do with Creative Control when I didn't know what I was doing. Some of my early shows are horrible, you know, until I figured it out. His shows are good. He's a good producer and editor. He's a good interviewer and host, and I think he realized he can kind of try to make a go of it. And to do that, he had to get out from under that umbrella where he couldn't really make too much money or sponsors or things like that. And there was an issue of where one of his shows was censored or something, and he didn't like that too much. And he had been on with me and Hughezy on Creative Control, you know, a dozen times, and we just have a good rapport and everything. So once he decided to leave the brand and everything, he was just going to do a YouTube channel, and then he just decided to hell with it and just messaged me, and I was already like, of course, you know, I might as well have already filled out your profile and everything. I was ready, you know. So that led to a little bad blood, but those guys, him and Vince, are fine now, you know, and Vince and I are fine. And I would just want to say about Vince that you know, regardless of whether people like him or not, he was a very early interview for me when I was at all. And he also, when my mom passed away, there's only a few people, you know, that were like acquaintances or whatever around the wrestling world that went out of the way to reach out and send their condolences, and Vince was one of them. And he actually sent a real heartfelt message and told me to reach out if I needed to talk and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, like, you know, what a nice guy, you know. And it's funny that people have this terrible impression of him, but he's never been anything but kind to me.
Yeah, I don't know why I remember this tweet, but he had put a tweet up one time. He was talking about podcasting. He said, you know, it took him 3 years. And then, you know, business generally, they say it takes you to 5 years. But, you know, you got to give something 3 years to kind of see what's going on. And that's, you know, we're gonna be done in February. This will be 3 years for us. I have a history of doing a podcast in 2008. Website. I mean, I brought along a lot of listeners from that era, plus, you know, cool kids, plus it's just really weird. The way my podcast gets so many listens is a little different than everybody else. It's just like, okay, so I got this audience, that audience, this audience, and all added together. Lance and I have been really fortunate to have as many listeners as we do. Just real quick, since you said you don't talk about wrestling a lot, I want to ask you a couple things, a couple of wrestling questions, and we'll call it a day. Anything in the WWE that excites you right now? Is there anybody that you say, I got to go out of my way to watch?
No, and it's like, well, you know what? I'll take that back. If they bring Ronda back after the Rumble, I kind of kept my eye on what she was doing, and I couldn't. It was like my big disconnect with the wrestling fans. I could not understand for the life of me what I was seeing from some of these fans on Twitter and whatnot about it. I can't wait till she's gone after Mania, and I'm like, she's been the best thing on TV all year. Like, she makes the shows exciting. She's a whole new presence. She has a whole different style because she's not that polished. It makes things a little more exciting. I couldn't understand people's takes on her, just like sometimes I can't understand their takes on Brock. We want Brock to go away. I'm always like, again, he makes the shows more exciting to me, at least when he wrestles, you know. And I just don't feel like my takes and my tastes were in line with the fans anymore. And it just seems like that's my problem now, where I don't see a whole lot that I like. I know there's a lot of people that always say, well, it's the best wrestling has ever been. And I'm like, geez, I kind of gotta disagree with you there. I would say Ronda. And when I watch the pay-per-views, I do go over my buddies once a month or whatever it is, sometimes twice or every 3 weeks, and watch the shows. I'm looking forward to the Rumble, of course, because it's the Royal Rumble. And when I watch the pay-per-views, I'm still happy to watch guys like AJ Styles and Kevin Owens and Brock, and that's really it, And then I liked Ronda's stuff, but I'm not huge into Rollins. I'm not huge into Becky Lynch. Strowman doesn't do much for me. I'm trying to even think. Roman's fine. I mean, I know I was one of the haters in the beginning. Actually,
yeah, if you go back and listen to one of those episodes, we gave you hell about that. I'm with you, man. I don't complain about it. That's one of the things that we talk about, me and Lance, a lot, is that there's so much out there. I still watch wrestling on a regular basis, but I do not watch the WWE. Sometimes the pay-per-view, and it's almost like if I know someone is going out of their way saying it's a good match, I'll go watch it. Or a shitty match, I'll go watch the shitty match. All right, so the second wrestling question, believe it or not, I'm going to ask another wrestling question, and we'll wrap it up here. What's your thoughts on Tessa Blanchard winning the belt this past Sunday?
I meant to watch that, and as we record, it's the day after the show. The Hard to Kill, I think it was called, right? And I intended to watch it with my dad and my brother, but I just got busy, so I had to cancel on them, which I'm notorious for. It's just things really do come up. My dad probably like, he doesn't even put his shoes on until 5 minutes before he's leaving, because he knows he's going to hear from me going, whoa, hold on, I got things to do, which it's unfortunate. But I planned to watch it. I didn't get to. And I was looking for it tonight, actually, because, I was just looking for a way to watch the match, if you will. Just that match, because I wanted to see it. I think that Impact is a lot of fun. I think since Don Callis and Scott D'Amore went over there, it's been more of a throwback to a rugged, non-PC, 90s type promotion is what it seems like to me. And so that appeals to me. And when I watch it, I do enjoy what they're doing. They don't seem to have a whole lot of limits. They've done some crazy stuff with Konnan and LAX in the streets and the feuds that they were in with those other guys and Eddie Kingston and whatnot. And then they did some other crazy stuff with the Undead Realm, and that might not be my cup of tea, but at least they're trying some stuff. I guess it's reminiscent of what Lucha Underground was doing. But as far as Tessa, I don't see a problem with it. It seemed like that was a long-term storyline. It paid off despite the controversy surrounding her. I think that was the right move to not particularly bow to the pressure from social media. And people just have to remember and realize that whether or not Tessa really was a bully or whatever, it's still wrestling. It's still a competitive environment. It's still in a locker room. There's bullies, and sometimes people do that to get ahead. It's just it's an unfortunate fact of life. As far as the racial aspect and stuff, I would hope that that's not true. But at the same time, that's not Tessa Blanchard, the character or the pro wrestler. That's Tessa, the person. And people don't distinguish between those two anymore a whole lot. So
PC people would just, I'm not saying it's okay to say that. I'm just saying that me and you could probably spend about 2 hours talking about how the snowflakes, that was one of the terms I learned from the Konnan show. Snowflakes there is, and it continue in everything that we do. All of a sudden, someone pulls up a photograph of JoJo who painted his arm black, and no one listens to your podcast. I like it that because we are at kind of like the underground still with the podcast, and we can pretty much say what we want to say. Now YouTube will knock people off, but generally, if we are, we can say what we want to say, and it kind of still the homegrown feel with the podcast, and that's really what I keep doing it and having a fun time with it. Oh, JoJo, thanks for joining us, man. Guys, remember, same bad time, same bad channel on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there! And as everyone knows, and JoJo, I know you know this, I love my mama. Thanks, man. American Hostile Championship Wrestling presents Hammering Hearts. That's right, February the 8th, 7:30 p.m. Doors open at 6:30 in New Madrid, Missouri. It's at the Eagles Club on 410 U.S. Highway 61. Golden Road tickets are $12, silver $11, bronze $10, general admission $8. That's right, Hammering Hearts. You'll see Rude, Jason Vaughn, Gavin Tice, Chris Hayes, Ethan Steele, Austin Bolo, The Family, Missouri Bad Boys, Jack Parker, Derek the King, making their AHCW debut. It's the Posse. That's right, Chris and Simon will be there. All titles will be defended. Be there! New Madrid, Missouri, February the 8th, 7:30 p.m. at the Eagles Club, Hammer and Heights, American Hostile Championship Wrestling. Call Mark for tickets at 636-232-3313.
Graphic design is very important. Your logo is the first image potential customers see. What kind of impression would you want to make today? Need a podcast logo or a t-shirt design? KT does art. Her name has become synonymous with quality and professionalism in the graphic design community. She specializes in graphic design, painting, and more. She provides affordable commissions and professional quality with a timely delivery. Contact KT via email at kt_doesart@yahoo.com. Check out her Instagram at instagram.com/kt_doesart.
That was another great episode of Shootin The Shiznit. Looking for contestants for Who Wants to Be the Best Shiznitter Ever? That's right, contact me and be a contestant on Who Wants to Be the Best Shiznitter Ever. A big shout out to our sponsors this month. Also, remember, we have a Patreon for only $1. That's patreon.com, Shootin The Shiznit without the G. A special thanks to Bob McGee at Pro Wrestling's Between the Sheets, Gene Jackson at locals2legends.com, and Sean Garmer at Wrestling to Max website. You can reach me on Comic Book Mark BT on Twitter, at BT Shootin The Shiznit on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook with a Shootin The Shiznit Facebook page. We have the Cool Kids Wrestling and MMA Talk Facebook group. If we don't like you, we'll kick you out, but you also have to ask to get in. All the archives are at www.STSPod.club. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, Podcast Addict, Spreaker, Spotify, and all the fun podcast players. Podcast Roll Call. A big shout out to Creative Control. Keeping it 100. Memphis Memories with Randy Hales, and my buddies over there at P3 Radio, Max and Josh. Who's Right podcast with Doug and Anthony, a great non-wrestling podcast. Another one would be Man Brain with my buddy Dave over there, Man Brain podcast. Check them out. Lance's favorite, Suplex City Limits with Jim and the Fudge. Guys, I am Brian Tramel. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.